Hi, so welcome to the subscriber report. What this is specifically for subscribers to my channel. It doesn't contain information about World of Warcraft or anything like that. It's all specifically focused on the channel. And what it is a way of me explaining what I'm doing with the channel at the moment. I do these every few weeks, and for you guys to provide me with feedback. There's been another good 500 subscribers added since the last time I did one, so welcome to people who won't have seen these before. Hopefully you'll find it useful. I'm going to do on a few different topics today, and so yeah, we've got an agenda. So in terms of the agenda, this is what we've got. On the first issue, something I've not had to talk about before, which is trolling. Now, of course, you get this, you know, successful YouTubers will have this all the time. But I've had my first one. Now, what it was initially is related to Demon Hunter Guide. I put up Havoc Demon Hunter, and someone took issue with it, which is fine. Occasionally people do disagree with things I put in my video. This is more than fine. I don't ask for comments just to back up what I'm doing. I actually want people to say, actually, I don't agree with that. That's more than fine. If you explain yourself, even better, because then I can say, oh, actually, do you know what? I think you're right, and I'll amend that. Or, actually, no, I disagree for these reasons. If you want to carry on the discussion, great. I like a nice discussion. So this person said, no, you're completely wrong. You're a complete idiot. It's this. And I went, oh, okay, then. Well, in this particular video, I had explained my... those who, I mean, I know some of you aren't on for the guides, but those who are will know that I put a lot of detail into my guides. So both the Havoc Demon Hunter and the Retribution Paladin guides have a lot of detail in. And with the Havoc Demon Hunter, I had explained where my numbers came from. I was very careful to make sure I'm saying exactly how I arrived at my figures. I gave my methodology, and I said to this person, okay, you're using empirical thinking. I've used maths. So you need to attack my maths if you're going to attack my conclusions. Which he didn't. And he just went on, and I said... So I left it at that. But then what he kept doing is he kept going back and he kept going on and on. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not even continuing the argument here. I've said to you, you know, you tell me where my method's wrong, or just, you know, your points aren't valid. So he did, and it just kept going on and on and on. And I thought to myself, okay, there's one of two explanations here. One, he's someone who is utterly convinced he's correct, and he desperately wants to convert me. Two, he's just going around rubbishing everyone else's guides. Got a lot of people have put Demon Hunter guides out. Some people you wouldn't necessarily expect. Fine. But he's done his own guide and he really wants to promote that. And I thought that might be the case, because after a little while he said, but if you really want to, you know, learn how to play Demon Hunter, come to me, I'll tell you. So I thought, oh, okay, he's just trying to plug his own and say everyone else is rubbish. So I clicked on his name for his channel. Nothing there. And I thought, well, it costs nothing to do a guide. Nothing at all. You don't need any specialist equipment. Specialist equipment is nice, but you don't need it. I have very little. I've got a nice microphone. That's pretty much it. And I've got a reasonable webcam. The rest of it is just a computer and some lights and a green screen. But you don't need that. That's just my personal choice. But it's still nothing. So I thought, well, okay, what? And then the third possibility is just a troll. So I thought, well, I'll test it out. He's going on and he's just spamming in the comments on two of my videos. So I just thought, okay, I'll give him a test. I said to him, look, you've had your say. I've asked you to attack my methodology. I've been very clear about it. You tell me where I've gone wrong. And I said, or don't post. I said, do not post again unless you're going to tell me exactly where I've gone wrong. Because if you do, I'm going to block you. I said, I'm fine if you leave it at that. I'll leave your comments there, as negative as they are and as overwhelming as they are. I'll leave them there. But if you say one more thing that is not actually attacking the methods I've used in my video, no. And I thought this is the real test, because if he was someone who was just convinced he was right and wanted to convince people, then he would think about it for a little bit and come back with something. If he was someone who was just wanting to promote his own guide, he would inevitably come up with a link to where that guide is presumably written down, because it's not on his channel. Or the third option is just a troll and he'll come back with something stupid. And that's what he did. He immediately came back with a non-comment. So I just thought, okay. And it's a bit like, you know, those of you who are parents who will know this. I know this as a teacher, anyone who's been in a position of authority. Once you say you're going to do something, you do it. So it was immediate. It's not like giving them another chance. It's like, no, I told you that, block. Because it's the same with kids. I mean, this person probably is a kid, but it's the same with kids. You know, you can 99 times out of 100 say no and be firm, but they'll keep pestering you because there's that one time when you said, oh, go on then. So I learned that many years ago. It's like, I've said I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. So that is unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. It's the first time I've had to block someone because, I mean, there's various videos where people have taken issue with us and just had some arguments, but people, you know, don't go on and on and on. They'll disagree with you, they'll have an argument with you and agree to differ, and that's more than fine. I keep those comments. I don't remove negative comments. I keep them there. They're all there. I haven't removed any comments before. I mean, some people have sort of suggested like deleting them completely, because why would you have someone saying, oh, this guy's a complete idiot, I will tell you how to do it. Because indeed, if you look at the comments, there's a couple of people taking him up on that offer. My attitude is I'm not gaining anything out of people watching these guides or following these guides, and I'm not losing anything by someone going off to someone who has no idea themselves. And it's actually quite clear when they just their comment about, because you could almost view it as he's someone who has a slightly different perception but is blowing it out of proportion, and in actual fact probably agrees on my stuff most of the time, almost over it, and it's just one little thing he had a niggle with and just went mad on it. But his comment on stack priorities shows that he doesn't know the first thing about theory crafting, which is of course why he wasn't able to come back and find any flaws in my methodology or my maths, because he doesn't understand it. So why keep the comments there? And the reason is, if there's two people who look at a guide and see that it is well thought out and everything's explained, and the conclusions are all based on maths and simulations, which are also explained with the parameters clearly explained, and then someone goes along and says, no, you're completely wrong, I actually know what to do, without saying who they are, without any credentials, without any methodology of their own, and they want to follow that person, they're probably better off not on my video. Because if truth be told, I actually don't want a lot of people who are going to be that daft, if we put it that way. Do you know what I mean? I'd much rather it were people who are able to follow my guides are detailed. They are not the 10 minutes stood in front of a training dummy type thing. They're not for that sort of the sort of person who wants that. It's not for them. So from my point of view, actually, it makes no difference those comments being that. I would quite like them to stay there. It's just that I had to block the person from just continuing with it, that's all. Now, obviously, there are other options available. This is just one troll, so I've just put a block on it. It should be fairly straightforward. It's actually quite annoying. I thought at first it wasn't working properly. It was confusing me, because as well as having a go at me, he was having a go at other people in the comments as well, and one particular person. And this person keeps responding back to him as if there's another conversation still going on. I'm thinking, well, I can't see it. I think what's happening, and if it's, well, you'll know who it is if you're watching this. I think he's just replying to you personally. It's not actually appearing on the comments in the video. It's really strange on update though. But I mean, the thing that also confirmed to me that he is absolutely a troll is he's been doing it on other people. So there's one person who's in my guild who's also done a Havoc guide for the pre-patch only at the moment, who is recognised as basically one of the very authorities on the spec. He's done a lot of the theory crafting for it and shared it with the community. So having a go on his as well is just, you are just a troll. So I'm perfectly confident that's the right decision there. But as I say, I'm not going to delete stuff. I think by virtue of the fact he's been blocked, his comments disappear anyway. I'm not sure. I can't see them. That doesn't. I've tried signing out and then looking at it as if I'm signed out, and I still can't see them. So I don't know, because it is really weird. On one of those videos, that conversation is still going on. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, I don't remove those comments. Freedom of speech is absolutely key. But there's a difference between freedom of speech. I mean, it's like with freedom comes responsibility. And it's a bit like, let's say you were at a place of work and someone was stood out there every day with a placard saying that you were a load of rubbish at your job. Now, it's one of those things. Is it freedom of speech? Is it just basically slander? If they've got good grounds for saying that, then you can argue it's freedom of speech. But if they haven't, then it's just slander and you can just call the police and remove them. So that's basically what I've done there. The other alternative is moderating the channel. What that would basically mean is everyone's comments would go into a review pot. They wouldn't appear on the video. And I would have to manually check them through and go, yes, that's fine. I sometimes have to do that. There is an automatic process. Some comments automatically go into that, even though I don't have that on my account. I think it's mostly people, first of all, if they type something that's not in English. There's been a couple in German. I know enough German to be able to read it and I go, yes, fine, put them on. Some have had links in there. I think it automatically filters, puts those into the bin just in case it's like phishing or something like that. I don't usually okay those ones unless I can see that it's okay, because obviously I can't guarantee the safety of anyone's links, or if it's got nothing to do with the video, if it just looks like it's someone trying to basically ask for a shout out on their channel or something like that. I'm not even big enough to give shout outs. I don't even know if people ask. But generally speaking, most comments just go straight on the thing. But I can change it so that everyone's goes into the bin and I have to moderate. Obviously, I don't want to do that. So if this is like an isolated incident, then it's fine from what I can say. Now, in terms of things that I would want to talk about, I actually sort of want to do this next week. But of course, this trolling incident, sort of thought, well, I need to talk about that. I might as well just do the whole subscriber report. And as I say, there have been, about 500 new subscribers since I did the last one anyway. So perhaps it's a good time. So I'm just going to go through different sections. So Archives of Warcraft, which is a little bit outside of normal stuff on the channel. But at the same time, I've now been doing it long enough that it's sort of now a core part of the channel. But it's obviously now pretty much at an end, if not actually at an end. I have got something else. But the thing with Archives of Warcraft, the original part of it was, and the first one I did was a Strathome one. And it's because so many things in Strathome that you think, oh, I remember what that did in vanilla. But it's still there, but it doesn't do it anymore. And there's loads of things. And I did that for a few dungeons. And you actually, there's so many things, you're trying to condense it down to fit it into a reasonable time, so it's not much more than 10 minutes. The last one I did was Black Fathom Depths. No, Black Fathom Deeps. People keep saying Black Rock Depths, Black Fathom Deeps. And I was struggling. There were a few things in it, so it was worth doing. I was already thinking I might not do it. And I thought, well, we'll just see how it is. And I went on for about 5 minutes. I thought, oof. And I only did it because there are actually some people who like 5-minute videos. I mean, I've had some people before click on a video and they've said, oh no, 15 minutes, that's too long, not watching it. And it's like, So different people have different YouTube viewing habits. I mean, for me, I wouldn't want a video to be only 5 minutes, because like you watch that and then you've got to find another one to watch. 15 minutes is a nice amount of time, because then you can just be watching it and then do something else after it. It's a nice little break for you. But different people's habits. So with it being about 5 minutes, I thought, well, okay, I'll still do it. I mean, I could still do Zul'Farrak. Someone has asked about Zul'Farrak. There are things in it that certainly don't do anything now and did do then. So that makes it a prime candidate for it. I think it's basically the last one for which that is an option. Stockades, if I was going to do Stockades at all, I would have done it with the Dead Mines one, but it's completely the opposite way around with Stockades, but I'm not going to go into detail on it. But there are sort of other things that I'm interested in doing. I mean, after reading the Chronicles book, which I read a few weeks ago, I am minded to do a separate Archives of Warcraft based around that. Not a lore video as such. I mean, there's people like Noble who do really good lore videos. I'm certainly not going to get into that. But more about things that have come up in that book for which there are things in game. So it's a bit like the Archives of Warcraft, but instead of looking at features of dungeons and vanilla dungeons specifically, this is looking at things in game that are related to lore, which some people may not know about. So again, it's still like a series about looking at the significance of things that people might easily miss. And I've got a few ideas for those in mind. Now, obviously, and I've said this before, these sort of videos, they're a little bit out of the normal thing for my channel, and Legion is coming, so I wouldn't be able to, I mean, when I started Archives of Warcraft, I was doing one a week. Now, no. But I will try and do, I think I would be able to do one of these a month. I think that's a possibility. It is possible, although I'm not guaranteeing this, that the first one could come out this month, as in before Legion launches. It may not, but I would certainly aim to do one a month, certainly September, October, November and December at least of this year, and then see how it's gone from then. Okay, so that's in terms of the Archives of Warcraft. In terms of other sections, so we've got raidcraft stuff, sort of raiding tips and things. Again, I mean, there's no new raid content at the moment. There's not going to be for another, 5 weeks, something like that, 5 and a bit weeks. We've sort of found out that the raids are going to come out along with Mythic Dungeons after 3 weeks of Legion, so in the 4th week, and then Mythic raiding in the 5th week, the week after that. So that's at the point at which I'm going to start being able to do more videos on the actual raid stuff, on the raid content. Now, people have asked, I've been doing add-on little guides recently. There's still a couple, there's a couple I intended to do this week, only very minor ones. But still, I didn't get round to those in the end. But I will be. There's still a few more I want to do in that series. And people asked about Bigwigs or DBM. Now, I did do a video on that in my UI series, which you can see in the Raidcraft playlist. It's number 2, I think, in customizing your UI. But it's quite general because really you don't do a comprehensive one on Bigwigs or DBM because you customize it. Basically, the whole point of them is to let you know when important things are happening in the fight. So it's customized from fight to fight basis. But what I was thinking is if I were doing raid videos on specific bosses, maybe I could add in a section on how I set up my Bigwigs I use to help me do that fight. That might be something that satisfies. Now, I'm not going to do like strategy guides for bosses, by the way, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is there are people who always seem to do a really good job of it. It's not always the same people. I mean, fat boss are sort of there or thereabouts. They always do guides, and they're quite well organised. But there's been various people do them at various times. Like in the last tier, I would say Proper Bird did a really good job of, I think she's in Consequence. She did a really good job of those boss guides. I was really impressed with those. She'd obviously spent a lot of time and effort on those. And she may well continue those in the next tier or may not. I'm not here to duplicate, especially with things like that do take, to do them a good job of them, take a lot of time. Now, what I have done a little bit and with Hellfire Citadel is a few what I might call top-up things, hints and tips. So it's not a strategy guide. It's like, well, these are some things that I have found useful, and I don't really see those being mentioned too much in guides, so I'll just put, it's a supplementary thing. The other reason that I wouldn't want to do a strategy guide, even if no one else was doing them, is because, again, it's this concept of one size fits all, which doesn't really, especially not for raiding. Like, a lot of people just think there is a way to do a fight, and there's not even, surprisingly. Like, when I joined the guild I'm in now, I was asking the guild leader how they do certain fights, and he said, well, same way as everyone else. And I thought, well, okay. And they didn't. There was not a single fight they did in the same way. Not even Hellfire Assault, and there's not too many ways you can do that. So it's not the case. You might think that the way you're doing it is the obvious way, but in actual fact, if you're using a good strategy for you, you're taking account. Yeah, sure, you're going to look at other people the way they do it. Of course you will. You'll find useful things there. But you have to then look at your own roster and your own team, and you know the individual strengths of the people in your guild and match it to take account of that. And that's always the way it's been, and it will always be like that. People who just try to ape someone else's strategy, you're gonna struggle. Yes, by all means, look at them and see if there's elements of it that could be useful, but don't just try and copy it. So that's another reason why I wouldn't do just a set guide, because it's a bit like saying, well, this is the way to do that. No. Retribution Paladin stuff. So this weekend I'm going to be hard at work on the Ashbringer guide. Now, I talked about the Ashbringer and a couple of paths to take in my Essentials guide, and so I talked about 2 paths to take, and it's still sort of 2 paths, but there are 4 options. There are 4 things you could choose between, and all of them have their pros and cons, and it's such a tough decision that I'm going to do a separate Ashbringer guide on that. I'd already said that, and I'm going to be doing the donkey work for that tomorrow, so that means that should hopefully come out on Sunday, all being well. In terms of other things for Retribution Paladin, there's the intermediate guide still to come out. I mean, for the Havoc Demon Hunter, there's only going to be one main guide for each sort of patch, plus an addendum guide. Retribution Paladin, of course, I go into more detail. This is my main, after all. And then there will be the live Q&A, which I'll be doing on Twitch. That will be on the weekend just before Legion comes out. It's not yet decided whether the Saturday or the Sunday. I did put a poll out on one of my videos last week, but no one really answered that. I'm not going to put a poll on this one, but you could always say in the comments below if you've got preference for either the Saturday or the Sunday, the last Saturday or Sunday in August. It will be, though, at 7 o'clock in the evening, UK time, not UK time. Don't look GMT up. And the reason for that, as I've said before, like, you know, when I've got a lot of people who watch these things from the Americas, North and South America, and I've got a lot of people who watch from Europe, and Europe's spread out a bit. So it covers a lot of time zones. 7 o'clock at night isn't going to help everyone, but it's the most suitable, it seems to me. And of course that will go up on YouTube once that's finished. If I might need to edit it a little bit. Usually I haven't had to, and they've been really good in the past. And then we should be set for Legion. Hopefully I won't have to do an addendum video before Legion. There's only been one change since I did my Essentials guide, and I'll cover that in the intermediate anyway. Havoc Demon Hunter. So yeah, I alluded to in the Essentials guide, Blizzard, I mean, this is the spec that is going to keep constantly getting changed. So although I say I'm not going to do things to the same extent as Retribution Paladin, I may end up bringing out as many videos because they're going to keep changing it. And it's also the one spec, or the one class, I should say, where and they've already said this, they're not going to be afraid to change actual mechanics. With other classes and specs, they sort once it's got to the point it is now, they sort of leave it alone. They'll tune things, but they won't remove abilities or put new ones in or anything like that. The same thing cannot necessarily be said of Demon Hunters. I mean, they're unlikely to go that far, but they may well change talents around still. They've been doing that all the way through Alpha. I mean, nothing's off the table, really, when it's a new spec. Which means that I'm likely to be doing a fair few addendum video, and there will now be an addendum video that comes out just before Legion launches. I'm not going to rush through it now, even though there's probably now, with the changes they've made since I put it up just a few days ago, enough content to do one. But they could easily just change even more things. So, and it's that particular guide is intended for post-launch anyway, so I'm just going to make sure it's out a few days before then. In terms of other content, so obviously I'll still be doing vlogs and mini guides where they occur to me, and anything else that seems relevant. In line with requests, there are another 3 more Legion-based guides at least that I will be doing, although it's likely to come to an end now. I don't know when Vita's going to shut off, and it's limiting my access to footage. And actually, recently I haven't been on the beta very much because, of course, we've had stuff to do in live. But I'm going to do a video on some leveling tips, some advice on that someone's asked for. And there are things that I can usefully say on that. That will be coming out early next week, or I can try and have it go this weekend, but I would say early next week otherwise. Also a general one on artifacts, not specific to any class, and a general one on order halls, again, not specific to any class. And I might tie that in with other content when you hit level cap as well. In terms of the coming months, obviously, September is going to be a very, very strange month. It's going to be a unique month in terms of since I've been developing the channel, because there's going to be lots of things to do. In fact, the first few days, of course, I'm going to be absolutely rammed. So there's, there'll be the usual thing. It's very likely to have like vlogs and things like that, and the channel will, of course, reflect the content we're doing. So in the first few weeks, it'll all be very much about scrabbling for artifact power and reputations and gearing up and all that sort of stuff, and mythic dungeons. Then, of course, we're going to be getting into raids, and the content will sort of reflect that as well. And it'll also reflect how much time I've got. In the first week, probably not a great deal of time to do detailed edited videos, so it's likely to be just like reaction videos, vlogs, things like that. After that, then, of course, it should settle down a bit. And then when you get into October, of course, then it's very much into progress raiding, mythic raiding. And there'll still probably be, well, there will be mythic plus dungeons going ahead. So I'll be able to chart my progress through those as well. With, unfortunately, 2 characters. Really annoying. But there you go. So, that's pretty much what's been happening recently and what's going to be happening in the immediate future. So as always, I always request feedback. If there's got any suggestions, by all means put them in. I always say this, but I'll repeat it as well. There's been a number of changes I have made to the channel simply based on feedback. For example, with the Retribution's Essentials Guide, for anyone who watched that, someone did make a comment about look at my ability cards, putting them in sort of like a paladin pinky colour. Someone found it not so easy to see. I sort of looked at it and thought it was okay. But so what I did with the Havoc Demon Hunters, I changed it to white. Hopefully that's okay. Then someone put a comment on that about making the cooldown a different colour if it is affected by haste, for example. And they do that. Blizzard do that themselves. But I see that's an example. Like the first one, I go, okay, I can read it, but I can understand. Okay, some people can't because everyone perceives colours differently. So putting it in white, nice contrast, easy change to make. The other one, I would probably say maybe it would be better if I did a separate section where I explained which ones are affected by haste, rather than confusing people by just using a different colour on those cards. But I do respond to these feedback. I certainly read it, and ultimately, if I agree with it, then I will make the change. If I don't agree with it for whatever reason, then I won't agree with it. But keep those comments coming in. I do these videos specifically for feedback, so I am actually requesting feedback. So hopefully you found it interesting, and until next time, I'll see you later.